What's one thing you've spent years trying to hide about yourself? Maybe you've been called too quiet, too serious, too intense, too emotional. What if I told you that the very thing you've been trying to change and hide isn't actually your weakness? What if it's one of your greatest strengths? Now, before you think I am saying that every flaw is secretly a superpower, I'm not. We all have habits and behaviours that we should work on and grow and improve upon. I'm talking about the parts of your personality that other people made you feel ashamed of simply because they were different. So, why do we start to believe that we're too much or even not enough? We're not born thinking that we're not enough or that we're too much, we're too quiet, too emotional, too intense. We own all of our qualities and we are just ourselves as we are. And we own it as children. We love it. We love who we are. Over time, from repeated comments from family, friends, society, school, we start to think that these things are flaws. We don't stop to ask ourselves whether it's actually true, and we take what other people say as if it were gospel, which I'm letting you know it's time to question those things, to ask, am I just taking on and believing in a personality or way of being simply because I was told that I am that, rather than actually figuring out who you are? So when we don't ask whether it's true or if it's not what people are saying about us, we start to feel embarrassed, ashamed, and we start to hide them because we think it's a weakness, because we've been told it's a weakness. But what if those comments said more about what people were used to than about who you actually are? People often label differences as weaknesses because people are very quick to naturally compare others to what's familiar to them, meaning what's comfortable. We could say that about experiences and places and cultures, but also we can say it about our habits and our personalities. If you have something that is different, that stands out in a room, it can often make people feel really uncomfortable because it's difficult to understand. They're not able to categorize it. They're not able to understand it because they've not come across it very often, or if at all. That doesn't make them bad traits, but it just makes them different to what those people are used to. I've often been called intense, serious, quiet, spiritual, like too spiritual, performative, dramatic, emotional. Think about every single one of those. And you can reframe each one of these things. For example, intensity could mean that I'm passionate and committed to anything that I'm doing. I'm extremely passionate. I'm energized by ideas and dreams. And sometimes that can come across as extremely intense because I really care. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be all in. Quiet. This could be observant and thoughtful. If you think about any visual artist, whether it's a photographer or a graphic designer, fine artist, most of these people are observant. And if it was the fact that they are observant, then we wouldn't have many artists at all. And I am a photographer and have been a freelance photographer for 10 years now, and my quiet nature has really allowed me to observe and be a good listener. And also now I am a personal coach and personal trainer and nutrition advisor. And that requires good listening skills, empathy, being observant of the habits and behaviours and the things that we can change. So it's 100% a positive thing. serious, I've been called, which often means that I value depth and meaningful conversations. I want conversations to mean something and to inspire me and to inspire others. And I find that these deep conversations or these deep topics, for me, are not that serious because I am very comfortable in them, but I understand for other people, they feel very deep and very heavy, and it's taken getting used to that and reading the person before I start to have the conversations that I most enjoy. And those conversations are philosophy, psychology, just learning and self-growth, spirituality, all sorts. Spiritual, you could say that I'm reflective and curious about life, that I want to live with intention, and I'm curious about living in a way that cultivates more love in the world and also inspires others to do the same. What is the difference between a weakness and a misunderstood strength? So a actual weakness is it hurts others or yourself. So that's not good. So something that is destructive in some form. It stops you or other people from growing, and it's definitely something that you should probably work on. But the misunderstood strength is usually something that does not harm anyone. It makes you unique and different, and it is that one habit or trait that when you're in a group of people, people always notice about you. It has only been labelled negatively by others. So the only reason you're self-aware of this thing is because others have brought it into your attention. So with my videos, I always encourage active living and taking action into the life you want and the best self that you're trying to create. So I have a little exercise here for you. I want you to grab a notebook, a journal, and let's answer these questions. Please, please do not go through this video without doing this, because I just feel like it would be pointless. I'm sure you could still gain some things from just listening, but I do think you will benefit so much more if you just take pen to paper. So question 1 is, what trait have people repeatedly criticized you for? Question 2, what part of yourself have you spent years trying to hide? And question 3, were you ashamed because it was actually harmful or because it was simply uncommon? So once you've figured out what that trait or multiple traits are, like myself, you want to reframe them. So for example, too sensitive could be that you're empathetic. Too quiet, like we said, observant. Too intense, passionate. Too independent, self-reliant, and takes self-accountability. Too curious, loves learning. Too serious, that you're really disciplined. I've had that a lot, you know, and recently I've really embraced the fact that I love discipline and I love the practice of it, and I love rules, and I try and like follow them and create structure for myself. And I know that that's not for everyone, but ever since I was young, I was that way, and I was really intense about fitness and also like healthy eating in like not a toxic way. Just I was excited and passionate about it, and I wanted to do it wholeheartedly. And I remember people always had an issue with that, and now I'm owning it. I'm like, you know what? That is how I want to live. That is what I enjoy, and that is who I am. And another thing is, I watched a film recently, and it was about this kid, young black kid, who lived in a low-income area. And he, if I remember the name of the film, I'll let you know. But he basically had to hide the fact that he was getting higher grades, because being smart around his friends at the time, it was a rare quality to have. And therefore, loving learning, like the fact that he liked to read in his spare time, was strange. And that could have been labeled as something negative, even though it's something so, so positive. And then when he moved schools, he was able to better feel accepted into learning and growing around people who also loved learning and had the love for learning. So it's really important also about putting these traits into the right environment. Often we think that these traits are negative or weaknesses because we're around the wrong people and the wrong environment where it's not understood. We want to be somewhere in an environment where these traits are valued and not criticized, understood rather than misunderstood. And trust me, that is quite hard. It's hard to do. You go through a phase of a middle ground where maybe you're not surrounded by many people or anyone who really understands. And that's okay because you're still growing towards the environment and the people that can truly value those traits that you have and also be able to use those values for your purpose. I genuinely believe the answer to your purpose, your true personality, your confidence lies in embracing these strengths that other people have deemed as weaknesses. There lies your unique formula to success because it's what makes you different. It's what makes you stand out in a room. And people will often try and squash that down. But in reality, it's the thing that is required in the world. It is the thing that you need to serve and gift to everyone else. But it's just gifting it and serving it to the right people. I want you to stop asking, how do I become more like everyone else? And instead start asking, how can I use the qualities that make me different? How can I embrace them? The goal isn't to erase your personality. It is to develop it with the confidence and self-awareness. Not every criticism you receive is something you need to fix. Sometimes it's simply evidence that you don't fit into someone else's mold and maybe you were never supposed to. So I'm like being blinded. I'd love to know in the comments, what is one trait that you've always thought was a weakness, but by the end of this video, you started to see it in a different light? Because that is what it's all about, guys. It's all about empowering you. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to feel more confident and to start seeing these things for what they truly are, gifts from God. Thank you so much for watching. I post every Sunday. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Bye.